Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for show number 2 tonight, and on our second show, we've got Nick Hahn here. You guys have seen me talk to Nick at different trade shows and such. Well, tonight he's going to be here, and we're going to be talking about legal music when it comes to your DJ business. So we'll be right back with tonight's show.
DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
All right, we are back for show number 2 tonight, and this is a big show tonight, Nick. I've had so many calls and messages already today, and I really think it's all because they want to learn how to grow an awesome beard like that.
I don't know. I look like a homeless. I'm afraid that I'm scaring little children next door to me, and they're like, "Who is this strange guy?"
This guy over there. It's a good thing your wife is charming. That helps keep the kids from you.
That does. I'm gonna have it trimmed before now. But,
nice.
It's winter time, so I don't have to see anybody.
Exactly. It's that November thing. You just came out of that, so yeah, you're just in the no shape. Nick Hahn from Promo Only is with me tonight. Nick, we're going to talk music, and we're going to talk specifically music licensing because this has been a big topic when you and I have talked at shows, and it's changed since I think the last time you and I talked of any substance was back in July.
Yes.
Things have changed since then in many ways.
Dramatically, not just the Music Modernization Act, but also licensing agreements with the labels. Things have definitely changed. I mean, I don't even know where to begin.
Well, I want to actually take us way back. Let's go back to the days when we had things like the Mobile Beat Top 200 and some of these compilation sets. The Platinum Series was another one. There was numerous of these that were out there produced by the different companies and such. From those days to today, how has the music industry changed in our attitude towards DJs?
I think the decline of physical product, meaning less people are buying CDs and DVDs, although there are still a significant number of people who want that format for DJing purposes. Attitudes have shifted and changed. Labels themselves are actually less concerned with DJs in general and more concerned with streaming and Shazam numbers. The two things they care about the most are Spotify and Shazam, and that's for their own marketing efforts. To my understanding, 10 Shazams basically equals the download of one song. So that's why they're concerned with that. Streaming numbers give them a more accurate representation of whether or not a song is going to, where it's going to be chart position for Billboard or any of the other numbers of charts. The ones they care about, though, are Billboard and, I can't remember. I'm sitting here spacing on the other one. But I mean, as you know, streaming. Britt just chimed in. Media base.
That girl. Thanks, Britt.
She cares because her song went number 1 on Media Base.
Shameless plug time. Where can they find it? Shameless plug time.
Well, you can find it on iTunes. Anything with Morgan Page, JCO, Beatport, Track Source, Promo Only. Most of the services carry her stuff. So if you're subscribed to a service, you could just search Brit Daily, DALEY.
Don't mess that up.
So anyway, they're concerned with that for their marketing efforts. Now, they're not making money. Labels are making more of their money nowadays on 360 deals with touring, less on sales. And so therefore they're not as focused as much on sales. But licensing is important to them, and getting paid for what is being distributed is also important to them. But they place a higher priority. Their highest priority, apparently, right now is YouTube, and how they can make more money off of YouTube plays, but also streaming through Tidal, Apple Music, and Spotify, and then selling merch, touring revenues, and all that. There's not a lot of money in actual sales anymore, and that's why folks like I take the music licensing. It's hard not to be upset when you see somebody like my wife who spends a lot of time working really hard, and has a song that goes number 1 on Mediabase and number 3 on Billboard, and the figures come in, and it's like, yeah, you didn't make that much money. It's people aren't living like Jay-Z and Beyonce. And I think if people think back to the Napster days when Lars Ulrich from Metallica was saying, hey, this is a big deal. This illegal file sharing matters. He wasn't talking about him. He wasn't talking about James Hetfield or Kurt Hammond or Jason Newsted. He was talking about people like my wife. He was talking about people like Matt and Kim, and independent artists or artists lower on a label's priority list who aren't making what a lot of DJs make. You know what I mean? Touring is very expensive. They've got to make all their money on merch. You've got a staff that's with you, your band members, and all these other things. So it's become more important, meaning not just because of promo only, but also because of living with her and seeing how much her and her friends work and how little they're compensated. And then to hear DJs complain about the state of music today, and it's like, part of it is because we're not supporting the people who are making great music to begin with. And I'm not just talking about my wife making great music. I'm talking about acts from yesteryear who had to fall out and do something different. So it's important, and it's important for DJs to take note that they're actually causing a lot of their own problems by subscribing to bootleg services and services that don't get full permission or licensing for the tracks that they service. To be a licensed and legal service means you need to be licensed. That means paying a minimum before you even service a track like we do for Sony, Warner Music Group, and Universal Music Group. And there just really aren't that many companies that are out there that are actually doing that. And they're living under a guise of, we're legal. You're not legal. You're not licensed. You may be partially licensed. You may be licensed with one, but very few are even licensed with one. So a lot of people. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You mentioned 3. Is it only those 3, or are there additional beyond the 3 that you have to buy licensing through?
You have most independent labels only require permission. They're happy to have the exposure. That's what they want. Okay. And for the most part, some of these major labels. Let me explain something to a lot of DJs out there. The reason that this matters, and the reason there's such a big deal about all this is servicing catalog audio. Catalog audio means something that came out before, something that's not being promoted by the labels currently. It's not a priority for them. There's no A&R working that artist, that label, that album or that song.
A&R, what's that mean, please? You're using some lingo, so I want to clear.
Artists and repertoire. These are the people who, like Neil Jacobson at Interscope, was handling DJ Snake's career and saying, okay, this is your album. We're gonna play this single first, and then we're gonna promote that single. And to do so, we're gonna talk to this blog author over here and this YouTube channel over here. And there's an entire process where these guys put together a business plan basically for each song that they release for these artists. And anyway, catalog audio is no longer under that. There's an entirely different department that deals with that. So if you were going to contact, say, somebody at Columbia, I Yell at Schiffman is in charge of promotion at Columbia. And if you're going to contact her and say, hey, I have a record pool of 50 DJs. I'd like permission to service this new Calvin Harris song. Mm-hmm. Now, I Yell It can give you permission to service that song. And if you service that song, you might not have, nothing may happen to you. But you're not paying the artist. The artist isn't getting anything out of it in return other than the fact that you're playing the song. But because it's a new song, the label considers that promotion and is less concerned with the income that they receive. Now, that being said, things have changed. They are asking for money for those things. They used to only ask for stuff that was older. Now they're asking for stuff. They want money for the new stuff as well. It's reasonable rate, but it's still a rate. Mm-hmm. And most of them, like I mentioned earlier, the most favored nations clause, when you sign a contract with one, with that, you're held to that same standard across for all three majors. That's in their contracts. That being the case, the same thing can be said in reverse. They're giving me a particular deal. They have to offer me that same, they have to offer a competitor of mine that same deal. If they offer a competitor a better deal, they have to honor that with us. So if somebody was going to get these songs for 50 cents a song, meanwhile we're paying 75, we would have to go back and renegotiate to get the 50%. But they would have to, based on the contracts that we have in place. And if we were going to pay one more money than we paid the other, we would have to pay that one that was getting less the same as we were paying the top tier. And that's pretty standard in business, just in general. It keeps things even. It keeps things fair. It keeps competition healthy. And some of these guys, I mean, understand why DJs are confused. Some of these websites look amazing. The marketing behind some of them are really, really good. They're not, and they're very helpful. Some of them are very helpful. Some of them have teamed up with manufacturers, and these manufacturers have not done their due diligence, and these manufacturers have not checked to make sure that they have the proper licensing. And as a result, some of these manufacturers are putting their business at risk, or not their business, but their income at risk. Mm-hmm. Because if an artist advocacy group decides that they'd like to go after one of the business A over here, because business A was using this pool to sell their product. It's much like the NFL. You can't use NFL footage. Mm-hmm. If you're going to use the NFL footage at a trade show, you better have permission from the NFL, or they're going to sue you and they're going to win
every time.
And, so, and I think the reason that DJs should care, not just for doing the right thing and not just for supporting the people who support us, but also remembering that this race to the bottom for pricing, we started off, John, in 2005, DJs were still buying singles for $6 to $13 for imports. Yep. Okay. Now we've got services offering, I made some notes here, and I went to a specific service today. For $9.99, you can download 91,397 audio and video tracks. That breaks down to 0.001093 cents per song. Per song.
That's pretty expensive.
I don't think anybody who is honest with themselves would think that the record labels would let someone keep it. It costs more than that to stream for a single month, and you don't get to keep this. All of a sudden, this DJ who hasn't been in the game, who just started, has the same library as a veteran that's been DJing for 20 years. Sorry, it's just not even realistic. And to also say, oh, we service worldwide. We got DJs all over the globe. Really? Because I see some of the places that you service and some of these folks that are watching. If you look, one of the first comments, I actually typed a link to the PPL, which is the licensing body in the UK. And the licensing body in the UK has listed the 6 licensed and legal services for the UK. And I bet almost everybody watching will probably be surprised to see that some of those services that they think are legit aren't listed. And I think if they go to Mobile DJ Network Facebook group and ask where people are getting their music, they'll see that a lot of those people are going to mention companies who are not listed on that site. And the Mobile DJ Network group is a UK-based group.
Very much
they
so.
Also, the guy that group does BPM Show, which is an amazing show. You should go to the BPM Show. I can't believe how awesome that show was. A lot of cool folks over in the UK. So anyway, people should care because you're creating competition for yourself by supporting these folks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? These folks that are going out and giving away every single song that has any bearing for a DJ whatsoever. 91,000 songs, John. I mean, like the other day I gave you a figure that was actually incorrect. I called my IT guy and I was like, hey, is this number that I'm seeing on my tracks chart? He goes, no, that's not. That's metadata. He said, we have about 500 to 600,000 audio and video files that we have distributed throughout the years. We can't sell those to anybody for any price, no matter what. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we want to be more competitive? Like,
yeah,
we don't like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're somehow, I mean, let's be real. Audio Silver is $40 a month. That's basically, that covers everything a mobile DJ would need, but it's $40 a month and you can get back to the last 4 months if you're a brand new subscriber. You know what I'm saying? That's not a lot compared to 91,397 tracks. I mean, you see these DJs saying, oh, well, you know, promo only is just too expensive. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you're actually doing what you're supposed to do. If we put up 500,000 songs and we started, I'm pretty sure that we could take all these customers away. I mean, 91,000 is, you know, a fraction of what we've got. So anyway, I'm digressing and rambling on. So
yeah, well, and the point is that eventually those types of business practices generally does catch up with you, and you're just too pretty to be in jail, Nick. I'm just going to say it.
Well, it's not my business. That's the other part. It frustrates me so much. People want to argue with me. They say I'm boss. Yes, I'm boss. I want my business to do well, but not at the expense of my integrity or my honesty. And I've been a promo only member since before I even worked at Pioneer. And I worked at Pioneer for 6 years, and I've always loved these guys. But yeah. I've always loved Prime Cuts. I've always loved Aura at Top Hits, Larry Clausen and Serge at X Mix, Mark Roberts and Stacy at Ultimate's Funky Mix. I mean, I actually know some of these guys at some of these other pools that I'm talking about. And that is extremely frustrating for me because I've got a friendship, and then I've also got not quite even competition. I just want to go, oh, what are you doing? You're causing me stress. You know, I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, some mornings stressed out because I don't know how to tell people this without people calling me a liar or challenging me. I've got DJs who only DJ for a living telling me they know more about music licensing and promotional music than I do. And it's frustrating because I'm not built like that. I am combative by nature, and I'm kind of an angry dude sometimes, you know what I'm saying? So you don't see that. I have to reel it in, but it's here, and it's great when I'm going to the gym. It's not great any other time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I hear the Sheraton in Atlantic City had a story about that, but we'll go to a different.
That was not my. Hey, look, anybody would have had that reaction. Okay, the shared poop towel is not not to be messed with.
Yeah, you guys have heard us talk about the poop towel incident. That's another story for another video. I bet you could almost go search it on Google and you probably find us. So, okay, there's a few questions here we need to hit. You've been talking, alluding and mentioning a few times about the back library, and that it's now 4 months. When we talked, I want to say a year ago or so, somewhere in that ballpark, you and I chatted. And at that time, a person could go back and say, if I was just starting, I could go back and buy more than just 4 months worth of music, back library. What happened?
For the last couple of years, it has changed for us. And I can't speak to this in terms of licensing. I just know what's coming from Pete and Jim.
Okay.
I know now it is definitely licensing. In fact, if you look at Prom, I actually pulled something up the other day off of Prom Cuts' website, and it said, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Prom Cuts monthly. Songs that chart top 10 from adult contemporary, top 40, urban, country, and alternative, plus a couple of dance cuts, blah, blah, blah. One release per month, which is 35 to 40 songs a month, 132 a year for unlimited downloads of every song released with the Prime Cuts monthly service. And then it gives the disclaimer, current releases and the last 3 months. So they were holding to the exact same standard that we were holding to, or that we're holding to, which means that the labels are doing their due diligence and making sure that the contracts going forward are equal, in my opinion. So, and to my knowledge, that's the way that Aura does it at Prime Cuts and X-Mix and everyone else. But we can't go any further back. If you're a current subscriber and you've been with me for the last 3 years, everything that you would have received in your subscription is still in your pool player. But if Steve James from down the street decides he wants to sign up today, I don't care how much money he has. I can only give him this month and the 3 months before it. That's it. I can't give him anything else. Anything else that I give him has to come out of my pocket, meaning that I have to pay a significant. So if he signs up for a $12 a month single genre option on our at promo only, and I give him month 5, then every single song that I give him, I have to pay basically an industry rate comparable to what iTunes and Google and Amazon and all them would have to pay the labels as well. And that's not financially feasible. That's not a way. You can't take a loss and run a business, or a consistent loss like that and run a business. So we don't do it. I mean, we've actually talked about doing a download service, promo only. You can download CD quality audio or 320 bit rate. We've talked about doing a pay-per service where we have all the songs that we've ever done as CD quality audio, and people can pick and choose which ones they download as DJs. But that's that'd be a labor for our IT department in this time to put together a platform that allowed them to do just that. So that might happen in the future, but that would be the only thing that would be remotely financially feasible for us in terms of percentages and what we have to pay the labels before we even sell the first track. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So
I've got 2 angles on this, and I want to go. You mentioned that if I have been with promo for 2, 3, 5 years, whatever, with my pool, the music and such that I have paid for in the past, it's still available to me. So like if my computer hard drive crashed, I could still download all those past issues.
Yes. You can get clouded backup. And I think I think most of the services that have the ability to restore purchases like that, they offer something similar, like, meaning that if you were to lose your hard drive or your computer, you could probably go back. You would still have to manually go back in there and download it. And I don't think anybody's going to say, oh, here's the 647 tracks you downloaded, Nick. You know what I mean? You'd still have to manually go in, which
it's better than nothing.
Might be a blessing for some of those bloated libraries out there.
That's for sure. Another angle that I wanted to talk about tonight is kind of reflecting back to the early days when those compilation sets, people ask about those all the time. What would it take in this day and age, whatever the money would be? Let's say if I was going to take and make a booklet of the top 1,000 songs that DJs play, what would it take in this day and age to get something like that to fly again?
A lot of money. Let's say you put 20 songs. You could fit 20 songs per CD. What's that? Still 50 discs?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So you got 50 discs. I mean, that's a lot. And depending on, I can not financially feasible. And for most DJs, based on what we're looking at today, I would imagine that it would be several $100s to even come close to making any kind of profit on it, like even remotely. It's funny you mention this because Jim Robinson talks about this every once in a while.
Oh yeah, for sure. It comes up quite a bit.
For those of y'all that don't know, that's the owner of Promo Only. And we did a series like this back in the day called the Platinum Series. And we actually got spanked by the RIA for it, even though at that point in time we had commissions, and had we fought it in court, we probably would have won the case, but it would have cost more than it would to settle. But we did. That's when we all learned a lot about, all those compilations that you're talking about, they don't exist anymore because back then the RIA was more interested in upholding what they were supposed to be doing. Now they don't, because it costs too much money for them to prosecute. They don't make enough money back. They'll spend $1 million to collect $500,000. And that's, once again, it's not a very successful way to run a business. And a lot of these guys are banking on that. But what they're not banking on is the fact that there's a whole, some of these guys, I don't know when, but their day is going to come. Us, along with some other folks, have been collecting so much evidence and so much just a lot of stuff going on in the background that a lot of DJs don't see. And a lot of DJs, well, why doesn't it happen? Like it took 7 years for Groove Shark to be shut down. And that was a public company that serviced the general public. I can't say why the record labels are slow to go after these guys, because if we're paying licensing and they're not, and they allow them to operate, that actually impacts their bottom line because we're paying per song. If more people were subscribed to us or one of the other licensed services, the labels would be making more money. By not holding these guys accountable or going after them in any case, they're not only hurting the DJ community, they're hurting themselves and their artists that they represent. So, but anyway, there's a lot of stuff going on in the background, and I hope it all turns out the way that I want it to. That's what I'd like to say, but never know. Things change.
We got a couple of questions, and then I want to get to basically if you could give us some kind of tips and such to kind of a litmus test for finding out if some of our music services are legal or not. But before we get to that, Ron from Canada he must belong to with the promo only in Canada, and was wondering, because of it being there and here, as if the music and such that he buys in Canada for promo only would be still legitimate in the United States.
Can you say that again?
So he's a Canadian DJ. They have a different licensing in the States than they are up there, and he's wondering if he buys promo only in the Canadian version of the promo only music, if it's something that could be used in the United States to DJ.
Well, a Canadian DJ can't subscribe to promo only US, and a US DJ can't subscribe to promo only Canada. If we know that happens, like if somebody says, hey, I'm in the US and I'm subscribing to Canada, they automatically get canceled. Mm-hmm. Our stuff, if you're referring to DRM, yes, you could play it in our territories if you were to come over here and play. But we're not allowed. I'm glad the Canadian asked the question in the first place. You'll notice that our Canadian services and our UK European services are completely different in terms of pricing and in terms of what we offer. In fact, our Canadian office has got a hand tied behind its back because we can't offer MP3 downloads through Pool right now because we don't have the proper Connect licensing to do so. And that definitely comes at a disadvantage for us, but we can't just skirt that. We have to adhere to the licensing rules in that territory. And I'll talk more about that on the litmus test in a second, and the same thing with the UK. In fact, a lot of what the Canada and UK subscribers get, we don't get in the US. We can't service them here, and vice versa. More so, we don't get their stuff. They usually get all the stuff that we get for the most part, or it's available to them. But we miss out on a lot of, especially more of the dance stuff. The mainstream stuff, obviously, we're going to get that. But the dancier stuff, sometimes the licensing is a little bit different, so we just can't service it over here.
Are they represented by a different label in the UK, and then that just isn't here? Or
well, yeah, it could be that. Sometimes, if you ever noticed, if you go to iTunes, somebody will post a link. One of your friends that lives in the UK posts a link to this awesome iTunes song, or the song in iTunes, and you click on the link, and it's like, oh, you're not allowed to be on this site. We're redirecting you to the US version of iTunes. That's because of territory restrictions.
Gotcha.
And and that's part of the litmus test, to be honest with you. No such thing as worldwide distribution. So, but yeah, so I hope I answered that Canadian question.
Yeah, no, I think you hit it. I think
you can give him my email, promo@promoonly.com, and I'd be more than happy to expound on that for him further.
Let's see. I want to get to the test, but Brian came up. He had a great question, or a great little statement here. Now, let's cover this one, and then we'll get to the litmus test. Brian was wondering if you could share how Promo Only started.
Promo Only started when Pete Werner and Jim Robinson, the owners, who are still owners, 50% partners, got together and decided that they were going to fill a need. Pete was DJing at Mannequins in downtown Disney, and at that point in time, it was the hottest club in the nation, and he was a Billboard reporter, and he was one of the most sought-after Billboard reporters by the labels because the club was so popular. And the club was so popular that the attendees included Madonna, Michael Jackson, Sting, that type of crowd.
Wow.
And Pete was, Pete won a lot of Dixie Dance King competitions, and he's real friendly with Dan Miller and all those guys. Back then, DJing was way different than it is now. If you go back and you find a couple videos of Brett Bud Castro's Second Nature, working records and CD players, and it's a lot more interesting. But anyway, Pete was getting all these 12 inches from the labels that just weren't available to other DJs. And other DJs were like, how do I get this? And CD players had just started coming out. Techniques put out a little tabletop where you could had pitch control, and then Pioneer had their, I believe, the CDJ 500 that allowed DJs to manipulate CDs the way that they would vinyl in terms of pitch. And so they got the idea and contacted the labels and said, hey, we got a lot of DJs that want these mixes. You guys can't afford to press up all this vinyl. How about we press the CDs? You give us the permission to do so, and we'll distribute it from you, and we'll make our money from the subscriptions. We'll pay y'all a percentage if you need it. And the labels were like, that's great. That's awesome. We do not have the resources. We do not have the money. And we also don't have the manpower to do exactly what you're talking about. So that's what they did. They started, I think Jim, don't quote me on this, but I think Jim said it was $6,000 to start the business. I think it was $3,000 for peripherals, and then I think they spent $3,000 on a one-time 1X CD burner. So everything had to be burned. Yeah, it was
real
crazy.
time.
Nobody knows. These young DJs don't know how expensive a one-time CD writer was back in the day, even a CD player. So
what year would that have been? That would have been about 90.
June 1992.
92. Okay, I was going to say about 93 is what I thought was back.
That was the year I graduated high school and joined the Army. So I didn't even know those guys then.
Yeah. Not many people did back then. That was early. Oh. Okay, Nick, let's kind of go through and give the folks maybe a few tips or a few ideas if they're looking to see if their music service is legit, if there's some telltale signs.
First and foremost, worldwide distribution. Nobody has worldwide distribution. Amazon doesn't have worldwide distribution. iTunes doesn't have worldwide distribution. Google Play does not have worldwide distribution. There are territory restrictions, and each company that is servicing must be licensed in those particular territories to service in those territories. So if your company claims worldwide, we've got DJs all over the globe, do you? Because it's funny, we're not seeing that we're not seeing it in Canada. We're not seeing it in the UK. We're not seeing it in the European territories, and we're not seeing it in China. Who are you licensed with? Where exactly is your license? And don't be fooled. A PRS license by a company, if a company says, oh, we're licensed with the PRS. No, you're not. That's like being licensed with ASCAP and BMI here in the US. PPL is what you need in the UK and Europe. That's in the UK, excuse me. That you have to be licensed to be able to sell music to other DJs or to venues, not a PRS license. And there are companies out there that are like, oh, we're licensed with the PRS. Congratulations. That actually means nothing. You're not giving anything to the, it means something, but it's not, you're not giving any money to anybody. So anyway, that being said, worldwide distribution, that's the first flag. Now, keep in mind, some of these guys we have offices in Canada, we have offices in the UK and Europe, and we have offices in the US. And we're licensed in all three to do what we do, but we're not licensed in Canada to provide MP3s via pool yet. So that's something that we've been working on, something that hopefully we've been working on a long time. And I don't know when that's going to change, but I do know this: we're not going to do it wrong. We're not going to just start offering it and say, hey, come after us. That's not what we're about. That's not what they've ever been about. And I think that's important. I'm very proud of the people that I work for, because I believe them to be honest and have integrity when it comes to matters of finance. I believe they're fair. So that's important. Secondly, and this includes promo only too, bootlegs. You got to have permission for anything that you do for a track. That means add an intro or an outro. But more importantly, a lot of these companies will throw up bootlegs, and they're not authorized. And if they're not an authorized bootleg, like, now some people might call it, Calvin Harris might do a mix and call it the Calvin Harris bootleg mix. That doesn't mean it's actually a bootleg. It just means that Calvin Harris decided to name it that. But if your friend down the street did a song and sent it to Company A, and Company A posts it up for sale, that's not legal. That's not legit. The artist isn't getting anything on it. They're not tracking it. You know, that's still not okay. It wasn't okay when you and I first started DJing and you were getting white labels and people weren't putting their name or their contact info on it. It's not legal today. Nothing's changed. There's no amount of DMCA takedown notices changes that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just sit there and go, oh, well, you know, we didn't know. Yes, you know. You know, whether if you're talking to labels the way you say you're talking to labels, you know what's an authorized mix and what isn't. If you're turning around and selling that, that's not legal. It's not licensed. You're definitely not doing things the right way. So that's another flag. Doesn't mean that there's exceptions to every rule. So make sure you're doing your due diligence.
So hang on. So what's the difference between like a bootlegs of a track, and if somebody took a song and made a mix of it, that maybe I added a little redrum to it, or I added a da-da-da-da to it, and I made a mix of a song? I mean,
that's still a remix, and bootleg remix. If you've taken somebody else's original work and made it your own, and then you turn around and sell it, I mean, if Robin Thicke can't get away with it, neither can we. You know what I mean?
Yep, okay.
Like, so I mean, and some of these guys are just taking the straight up song. In fact, there is a major music retailer whose name I'm going to leave off. But if you go into their libraries and you start poking around, you can find all sorts of people for these independent labels who put up a lot of songs, who are making money off these songs, that if the rights holders ever come after them, they're going to be liable for a lot. I mean, there's a lot of like DJ edits. It'll be called something like PYT. Somebody will take that the background music for PYT and make kind of like a house track out of it, but they'll use all the elements from PYT, but they'll call it something different. They'll call it like Beautiful Young Thing. And then so you still jacked all that music. If you replayed it, you're okay. Like you still have to have, I forget what the type of licensing is. I should have had my music business major sitting in here with me. She can answer a lot more of these questions, but anyway, basically you need to have the rights to the song. You need to have permission. And honestly, if the mix is really good, I mean, labels will sometimes make an authorized mix. They may not pay you anything for it, but they'll distribute it. They'll give it out to other pools themselves. I mean, some of these remix packs are ridiculous. Sometimes you'll get a remix pack and there's 30 songs, and it's very frustrating as a DJ, because you're like, man, I got to go through 30 of these mixes to find out which one's the best one for me. But 30 different people might have 30 different preferences for what mix, you know what I mean? So you can't just sit there and go, okay, well, these are the 3 mixes. So, but unauthorized bootlegs is another warning sign. And then finally, 2 things: unlimited audio. Nobody's giving permission for unlimited audio, and nobody's giving permission for worldwide distribution. Nobody's giving unlimited anything. You know what I'm saying? You can't. There are limits to what you can do with the content, period, and the amount of content that you can offer people and give them. Like I said, for $9.99, an 18-year-old kid who just started DJing is given access to 91,397 songs. Like, no, come on, people. I like, you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to figure out that that's not a good business deal for the record labels. Okay, they're not going backwards here, trying to move forward and make more money, not less. So that world, and especially catalog audio, it's the catalog audio that's such a big deal. Jade Starlin from Pretty Poison is not getting massive amounts of income because a DJ played Catch Me On Falling at a wedding, and meaning that everybody at that wedding didn't rush out and buy that song. She doesn't need the extra promotion. She needs the 99-cent download from iTunes or Amazon Music. That's what she needs. That's where she'd be making more money.
Yeah.
That being said, I encourage other DJs to do what I'm doing, and I've only started doing this practice over the last 2 years. I don't buy used discs anymore unless that's the only way I can get the disc. I always, at this point, show you right now, I bought 50-something CDs this year, all brand new. Could have bought a lot of them used and saved a little bit of money, but I'm trying to help out some of these artists, man, because I mean, nowadays, $9.99 for a CD you're going to listen to 1,000 times. Like, well, that's an exaggeration. That's definitely hyperbole, but a CD you're going to listen to a lot. I mean, I spent $9.99 on a cocktail yesterday before I went to see the Titans game. You know, come on, people, stop being cheap. You know what I'm saying? Like, do the right thing, not for me. You know, you don't have to sign up for promo only. You can sign up to any number of services. Just try to do the right thing and make sure that the people who are supporting your careers are getting paid. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to. I'd love to have you as a customer, but I'd rather have you subscribing to a service that's gonna give money back to the label and to the artist. That's what I'd like. I mean, ultimately, that's the best. And if we go out of business because that happens, then that's on us. If we go out of business because a bunch of illegal record pools / bootleggers are selling content at $9.99 or whatever. And that's different. I don't feel like I want. It's like the baseball players who are upset about people using steroids. Of course, they're upset about people using steroids. It's an unfair advantage, and it definitely changes their paycheck versus their paycheck, and it's against the rules. I mean, you see these people complain all day long on Facebook about rules, political rules, what we should do, what we shouldn't do, and then they turn around and they do things. They break laws. They do things, you know, they preach love is love, and then they're not nice to people, you know, like, come on, we got to have some, well, let's have some give back to the industry that's given to us. Look, $40 a month for promo only. That might seem a lot to a lot of DJs, but come on, how much are you making per gig? Do you know, I mean, do you think a plumber who has to buy a 6-inch PVC to put in a new drain line is complaining about the price of PVC and is going to Home Depot when they're closed and breaking in and stealing? No, come on, man. Like, it's part of your job. It's part of your job. You're going to tell me I'm a pro DJ, but I had a guy the other day, I'm telling you, and there isn't a service out there that he said $9.99 was too much. And I don't even offer anything for $9.99. He's like, $9.99 is too much. I'm like, what kind of gigs are you doing, bro? Like, maybe
you shouldn't be DJing. Maybe
you should not be DJing. $10 a month for your music? That's too much. I'm sorry. Maybe it's because I'm old and I'm used to paying $6 and $12 for a single back in the day. But, I mean, it's a little bit over the top for me. So, anyway, sorry.
No problem.
I like to talk, man.
Okay, so we've talked about the unlimited or the large library, back library. Is any bootleg type content? Is there anything else that would be kind of a telltale sign of an unlicensed?
Well, you say telltale, and to me that means without a doubt they're not. It's not necessarily true. The worldwide distribution is definitely a no-no. The unlimited downloads, definitely a no-no. Another warning flag, though, would definitely be if a website feels the need to put to invoke DMCA, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which I believe is now defunct with the Music Modernization Act. I could be wrong on that. But if they feel the need, to me, that's the first warning sign. Do you know how many songs we get a month We go through every single one of them. We go through every single one. And we don't put anything up that we don't get permission directly from the rights holder at all. Like, that is our stuff. It goes up and that's it. We don't have a disclaimer like that on our website because we don't need a disclaimer like that on our website because we know where we got all our stuff. We got it directly from the label. We didn't get it from somebody else. We got it from the label. And if a company is quoting or invoking DMCA, that's definitely a warning sign. That's kind of like my boss at Pioneer, Carl Decken, used to call it CYA. And I think most people know what CYA means. So a lot of these folks have taken the business route of it is better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Yeah.
And they're building up, hoping to reach a level where financially they can go legit. And kudos to them. Anybody who makes the switch from not legit to legit, they got my full support and blessing. But until then, I'm not gonna sit by the sidelines. You know, and you might not see Aura, you might not see Jim Weiss, you might not see these other guys that mention and complain about it vocally in public like I do. But I'm passionate. I believe that people need to know. A lot of people are going to watch this video and discount every single thing I say. They're going to argue with me. And
there's some of those in the chat room right now.
I'm sure there are.
But hey,
and I'm sorry, guys. I'm not judging any of you. I'm really not. Yeah, what you do in your own time is up to you. And the way you run your business is totally your thing. You know. But I'm not going to sit by and let other people tell me what's legit and what's legal when I'm sitting there. I'm going to the meetings. Listen. Anybody who wants to know, tell me another service, just one that has an entire week dedicated, well, not an entire week, 3 days dedicated to having the heads of record labels, PDs, MDs from radio station, mix show DJs, all come around the country and speak at our events in front of everybody. We've been doing it for 26 years. Like, this is, well, not the event we've been doing for 11 years. Like, we're not hiding at all. Not a single solitary bit. We don't fly under the radar. We don't keep our website hidden. You can do a search for a song on our site and see if it pops up. You know, like, these are things that we're transparent. We're as transparent as we can possibly be. And we account for every song that we that customers download to the labels. And that's all I'm asking. I'm just asking for a bit of, use a little bit of deductive reasoning, hold yourselves accountable if you feel like holding yourselves accountable. If you don't, think, move on. Don't argue with me. Move on. Just discredit me and go, oh, angry redneck homeless looking dude. You know, that'd be it. That's okay. That's your prerogative. I'm not going to change everybody's mind. But the people who are out there that care enough to listen to what I'm having to say, I hope that maybe I've given you a little bit more of an insight of what's going on. Also, some of you guys know music lawyers, I'm sure. Contact one, ask them. Say, hey, do you think that this is legit? You know, they're probably going to say, well, I'm not familiar with the company, but based on my service, I would say that no, they're not. That's legitimate. But as you can see on that link on the PPL, at least I can prove to you here in the US or in the UK and Europe that we are licensed. You can go on there. They've got us listed. How nice of them. Just got it listed right up there with the CD Pool and VJ Pro and Extended Mix and one other company that's legal. It's weird because I don't see any of these other pools that are selling over there listed. Huh,
it's
weird.
not there.
It must be it's a Nick James plot. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I got together with all those other
You
competitors
did.
and said, hey, let's keep these guys out.
There's a couple of quick things I wanted you to speak on. Streaming services and DJs. Are streaming services legal for DJs to use? I know that there's some that are tied into some software. Let's not go there. You mentioned Spotify early on, and of course there's others out there. What have you been hearing as far as from the labels and such when it comes to that?
I just know that licensing for streaming is different. Like, we cannot stream. We've got an app for Pool for your phone. We've had an app for Pool for your phone for almost, I'd say, 6 to 8 years. That works. So I can go on the pool, I can stream and preview all my tracks, and I can actually download from my phone. I can queue all that stuff up. Can't do it. We can't use it because we don't have a streaming license. We don't have streaming licensing. And, I'm not going to say that we're never going to do it. But right now, financially, it's just not. I mean, we're working on it. I can't say that any company that is streaming isn't legal. I know that nobody has done it properly yet. There's still so many faucets for DJs. But I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, it's going to be all these DJs that are worried about streaming. Like, eventually streaming will be the way that DJs DJ their music. I'm going to say it here and now. It's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. Physical product is going out. Even downloads have taken a major hit from streaming. We're raising an entire generation that's never bought a single download and probably never will. We got people people are buying records all the time. They're also showing that people aren't even opening them. People are buying vinyl. In fact, I see a Pyromania disc back there. But that's okay, because I know you probably played that a couple of times before it was going to.
Actually, if you can see.
Oh, there's another one. Hysteria is behind you.
Yes, exactly. None of these have been open. These are the limited edition.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, streaming's going to happen, meaning that it's going to become, at some point in time, the preferred method for DJs. Me personally, I hate it. I love owning. I'm a collector. I've got tons of CDs. I still have I've cut my vinyl down significantly. I only have like maybe 6 or 7 crates left total. It's going to happen. It's just how to do it properly and tie it in with software providers. So, and then, I mean, let's be real. We could all be out of a job. Yeah. Me and the other people, because if Spotify and Apple Music if they start doing like DJ oriented stuff inside that could wipe out. Yeah. So, I mean, you get to a point where $12.99 a month. I mean, how do you go any lower? Where's the competition factor? At that point in time, it'll all come down to features and preference. Yeah. So, but it'll happen eventually. I think we're probably 10 or 15 years away from that being the norm. But it's coming, definitely. Yeah, I think it is. Nick, we got to wrap things up. Thank you much for your time, for your passion and your information tonight. If people want to reach out and have any questions for you or something, what's the best way for them to do that? Do not friend request me on Facebook. I wasn't good. That's why I was asking for your email once again. You can friend request me on Facebook. I don't care, as long as you're nice to me. Listen, guys, I really do. I take this stuff to heart. It is really difficult for me. And a lot of y'all are very supportive, but there's a couple out there who are just not. And I don't mean supportive as in you agree with me, but you're open to having like logical debate and you're willing to take it offline. There's a guy, a moderator in DJ Idea Sharing, Patrick Donahart. I'm not sure if I said it the right way. He and I had a little spat online, and we took it to the phone and got everything clear. And I didn't change his mind. He's still using the service that he prefers, and I'm still preaching my thing, and we get along just fine. So hit me up at promoonly.com, or you can friend request me, Nick James Hahn. I've got a picture of me dressed in a suit with a gun, and a flag is my background. So if there's other Nick James Hahns out there, they are not me. So anyway, that's fine. Or you can hit me up in DJ Idea Sharing, Serato 101, all sorts of different Facebook groups. That sounds great, Nick. Thank you much again for your time tonight. Gang, we'll be back in about 7 minutes with Shani and Dan tonight. Thanks, man.